Hello. Today I couldn't be with you in person, but thanks to our communication media, I'm here asynchronously. And talking about the finish of this important topic, I'm going to tell you what is the legacy of the British Empire. Um, an historical context, the British Empire was one of the largest and most powerful empires in history, spanning across continents and impacting various aspects of global society. And in impact, the legacy of the British Empire continues to shape the modern world, influencing political systems and cultural practices and economic relationships. In economic impact, the British Empire had a profound economic impact on the regions it colonized and controlled. Through the establishment of trade routes, exploitation of resources, and development of infrastructure, the empire played a significant role in shaping the modern and global economy. These are key economic factors and establishment of global trade network, and the British Empire established a vast global trade network connecting colonies and facilitating the exchange of goods and resources, enable the flow of goods and capital, leading to economic growth and increased prosperity. When we are talking about exploitation of resources, the empire exploited the natural resources of its colonies, such as minerals, agricultural products, and raw materials. Provided a cheap and abundant supply of resources of British industries, fueling economic development. And in infrastructure development, the British Empire invested in the development of infrastructure, including railways, ports, and telegraph lines, improved transportation and communication networks, facilitating trade and economic integration. And in legacy of economic institutions, the empire left behind economic institutions and legal systems that continue to shape the economies of former colonies, established frameworks for trade, property rights, and governance, contributing to long-term economic stability. When we are talking about the British Empire and its political impact, we can talk about its colonial administrations. The British Empire established colonial administrations in various parts of the world, which often led to the imposition of British rule and governance systems. And change in governance systems. The British Empire introduced change in governance systems in its colonies, such as the adoption of parliamentary democracy and bureaucratic administrative structures, and spread of British legal and political institutions. The British Empire spread its legal and political institutions to its colonies, including common law, the English language, and concepts of individual rights and representative government. Okay, the British Empire left some important factors around the world. For example, spread of the English language. The British Empire played a significant role in the global spread of the English language, which is now one of the most widely spoken languages in the world. British customs and traditions. The influence of the British Empire can be seen in the adoption of British customs and traditions in many former colonies, such as tea drinking cricket, and the monarchy. Influence on art, literature, and education too. The British Empire had a profound impact on art, literature, and education, with many works of art and literature being influenced by British colonial experiences and British educational systems being established in former colonies. So, to conclude this great topic, we can say that the British Empire was one of the largest and most influential empires in history. It spanned territories across continents, shaping global politics, economics, and cultures. Some key aspects of the British Empire's legacy include economic powerhouse. The empire's economic powers fueled the Industrial Revolution and Britain and facilitated global trade networks. It extracted resources from colonies, built infrastructure, and established trading posts, contributing to Britain's wealth. We can talk about legal and political systems. The British Empire introduced legal and political frameworks in many colonies, including common law, parliamentary democracy, and administrative structures. These institutions continue to influence governance in former colonies. Talking about the cultural influence, the spread of the English language, British customs, and institutions left a lasting cultural legacy in many parts of the world. This cultural imprint persists in literature, education, and legal systems. The British Empire had a dark side, for example, the imperialism and exploitation. Despite its advancement, the British Empire was also marked by colonization, exploitation, and oppression. Indigenous peoples faced displacement, cultural assimilation, and economic exploitation, leaving deep scars that endure to this day. And the British Empire had a global impact too. The legacy of the British Empire is complex and multifaceted, with both positive and negative repercussions felt worldwide. It shaped the geopolitical landscape, influenced international relations, and laid the groundwork for modern globalization. Well, to finish, I will show you a video summary. Thank you for your attention, and lights, cameras, action.
Despite reaching its peak of influence at the beginning of the 20th century, the British Empire's origins reach back to the end of the 1400s. Hi, I'm Rebecca Brayton and welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be exploring the rise, dominance, and fall of this one-time world empire. Following Portugal and Spain's lead in overseas exploration, King Henry VII of England began to commission voyages across the Atlantic. Several unsuccessful attempts were made to create colonies along the North American coast under Queen Elizabeth I. It was in the early 17th century that under the rule of King James I of England, the British Empire truly took a leap forward. The first permanent settlement in the Americas under English rule was Jamestown, founded in 1607. In the decades that followed, progressively more popped up along the coast and throughout the Caribbean. A series of wars with France and the Netherlands throughout the 17th and 18th centuries eventually left Britain as the dominant colonial power. This empire was tested, however, late in the 18th century. 13 of its North American colonies broke free from Britain through the American War of Independence, creating the United States of America. Despite this seemingly crushing blow, the British Empire pushed forward and shifted its focus toward Asia, the Pacific, and Africa, growing larger than ever. After being challenged by and eventually defeating Napoleon's France in 1815, Britain was left with no major rivals. From this point until 1914, Britain would add 400 million people to their empire, along with 17% of the world's total land area, during what was referred to as their imperial century. The growth of Germany as a military and economic power forced Britain to form alliances with old enemies, such as France and Russia, in the lead-up to the First World War. In the short term, Britain benefited by receiving even more territory through the Treaty of Versailles. However, the economic implications of the war spelled trouble for the empire in the long term. 1922 marked the height of the British Empire when they held sway over 1/4 of the world's population. However, World War II would leave Britain virtually bankrupt. With anti-colonization sentiments high, the dismantling of this once dominant world empire began. While many colonies declared their independence in the decades that followed, many consider the handover of Hong Kong to China in 1997 as the end of the empire for Britain. Despite this, the British influence is still felt the world over. In addition to the 14 territories over which the United Kingdom still retains sovereignty, the empire also caused large migrations of people. Across the world, many ex-colonies still use the British parliamentary system as the basis for their now independent governments. The British Empire was also responsible for creating some of the world's most popular sports, including soccer and golf. Arguably, the British Empire's largest mark on the world was the English language. The proliferation of the language increased with the spread of their rule, and today it is the mother tongue of roughly 400 million people worldwide.